All right, here it is, the DJI AIR 3, and I've been flying this thing for the past couple of weeks, and also flying this right next to it, the DJI Mini 3 Pro. And if you guys haven't seen my full review video on the AIR 3, I'll make sure it's linked above as well as down below. And also, if you currently have an AIR 2S and was thinking about upgrading to the AIR 3, I made a full comparison video on that as well. That'll be also linked down below. Now, even though the AIR 3 is that shiny new object with all of the latest tech, all of the latest features, I'm happy to say that the DJI Mini 3 and the Mini 3 Pro still lives in my bag for multiple reasons. So in this video, I just want to go through with you guys 5 reasons why you're going to want to stick or stay with something like the Mini 3 or Mini 3 Pro in this case, as well as 5 other reasons why, if you currently fly the Mini 3 Pro, why you might want to look at moving up to the AIR 3. Now, the first and most obvious reason, of course, will be the weight of the drone. The DJI Mini 3 Pro comes in at under 250 grams, comes in around 248, 249 grams with the smaller, lower capacity battery. And the main reason why that weight is such a big deal is that depending on where you're located, you don't have to register your drone if it's under 250 grams. You still have to abide by all the standard FAA rules and regulations when you're out there flying. Now, as far as the AIR 3, this does come in approximately 720 grams. So of course, it does come over that 250 gram limit, which means if you are in those areas like the US where you are flying something over 250 grams, you're gonna need to register your drones with the FAA. Next reason why this drone still lives in my bag is because of that reason. It is super small, extremely portable, and definitely a lot smaller than the AIR 3. Just having a drone in the bag at all times is extremely important to be able to get up in the air and capture something. If you're at the edge of saying, do I bring it or not bring it? That's kind of where you are when you take along something like AIR 3. It's either just a hair too big that you don't want to bring it with you because it might feel a little bit heavy in the bag, compared to this, where this thing pretty much the same size as some of your camera accessories. You'll be able to stick this in any one of those compartments in your camera bag, or just grab another case and throw this into your backpack. And the next reason why you want to keep something like a Mini 3 Pro is this reason right here. The footprint of the drone when it's up in the air, it is super small, draws a lot less attention when you're out there flying because of the noise factor and just the size of the drone. Where here with the AIR 3, it is a bigger drone up in the air, so some people might feel a little bit more intimidated by it compared to the Mini 3. Next advantage we'll talk about with the Mini 3 Pro is that you are able to shoot in vertical form, but not just that, you are able to do vertical with the AIR 3. However, the AIR 3 shoots it at a 2.7K, where here it actually has a full rotation on the camera, so you are able to get a higher resolution 4K in vertical mode. When it comes down to battery life and flight time up in the air, oddly enough, even though the AIR 3 is brand new and has 46 minutes of rated flight time, the Mini 3 Pro Mini 3 battery, if you get the higher capacity battery, you're able to fly for a rated 47 minutes. Now, with a 1 minute difference, we're kind of splitting hairs at that point, but hey, it is an advantage for the Mini 3. The one thing that's great about it is that they do have different battery options for you. This is the higher capacity and longer flight time battery rated for 47 minutes. And then they have the lighter or smaller capacity battery. This one is rated for 34 minutes. And this is the one that you're gonna need to have in your drone if you wanna keep that weight under 250 grams, the lower capacity battery. And of course, when it comes to price, the advantage will go to the Mini 3 Pro starting at $759, while the AIR 3 starts at $1099. Now, of course, if you're an existing Mini 3 Pro flyer and you're looking at upgrading, now here's 5 reasons why you're gonna wanna jump from the Mini 3 lineup over to the AIR 3. First thing, of course, we'll talk about is the all-new camera system on the AIR 3. Now, it does have the same sensor size, the 1/1.3-inch CMOS sensor, same size we have here on the Mini 3 Pro. However, this is an all-new generation stacked sensor. The quality coming out of this camera definitely is a jump over the Mini lineup. However, if you are just looking at the footage by itself, you wouldn't really notice it too much. If you put them side by side, this is where you can kind of see the differences. The quality on the Mini 3 Pro is definitely really, really good. I don't think you really will notice those differences unless you're putting these things side by side. But I don't want to downplay the quality on the Mini 3 Pro. It is really, really good. We just have newer technology, newer camera sensors that are coming out on all these newer drones. Along with that newer sensor, we also have the ability to shoot with 2 different focal lengths. We have the 24mm wide bottom camera here, as well as the option to switch it over to the top camera, which is 70mm equivalent, about 3 times zoom on the top one. If you shoot a lot of video, this definitely gives you a huge advantage over the Mini 3 Pro. You have a lot more options now of shooting, and the types of shots you get with that longer lens, that subject is really closer to you, and that background gets compressed right on that subject. So you will have a lot more depth and a lot more parallax movement with this type of camera. Now, even though I talked about the Mini 3 Pro's size and portability as being a very big advantage, which it definitely is, it can also be a disadvantage, especially if you're flying in areas where it's really windy as well as high altitude. Now, even though the Mini 3 Pro can definitely take on some strong winds, you'll see the drone up in the air kind of fighting all over the place compared to something like this, a little bit heavier of a drone that can withstand a lot more of that wind that the Mini 3 just can't really take. As well as the stronger motors help you ascend and descend, especially when you're up in higher elevations. So really, depending on where you live, you might want to go with a larger, heavier platform that can take on the wind and the altitude, something like the Air 3. Next advantage of the Air 3, we have omnidirectional sensing, obstacle avoidance sensing here on the Air 3 compared to on the Mini 3 Pro. We only have the 2 fronts. We have the front obstacle avoidance. We also have the rear, but we have the sensors here up front kind of pointing back, but we don't have any of those side obstacle avoidance like we do here. That new vision sensing that we have here allows you to now have obstacle avoidance on both sides as well as front and back and bottom. So if you wanted to use some of those intelligent flight modes, you can be a little bit safer, a lot safer now, knowing that you can throw it into those modes, have it do some of these automated movements, and know that if you are coming up on a tree, a building, anything like that, it will hopefully sense those and then bring your drone to a stop. Jumping back to the camera, one advantage of the Air 3 is that you are able to now shoot slow motion 4K 100 frames a second, as well as 1080p up to 200 frames a second. Having those higher frame rates do allow you a little bit more flexibility in editing, especially if you want to do things like speed ramps, having that slow motion or that ability to slow that footage down and not lose too much quality. Where here, the only way you're able to do that, you'd have to jump down or go down to 1080p at 120. Here, 4K 100 frames a second. I really wish they had 4K 120, but we'll take 100 frames on the Air 3. And finally, one of the newest and biggest advantages of the Air 3 is the all-new remote control. This is the new DJI RC2. But the one thing about this remote control, it does unlock the O4 video transmission, which gives you up to 20 kilometers in range between your remote control and your drone. Here with the Mini 3 Pro, we are using the O3 video transmission technology. Gives you about 12 kilometers in range, which is still extremely far out there. However, I'm never gonna fly that far out, but just knowing that you have the ability to or it's rated to, that just means that you have a lot stronger of a signal even when you're at closer distances. While this drone will definitely be my preferred drone to fly, there's nothing denying this being in my bag or being in my car at all times, because this thing is just too compact to not bring a drone with you. Of course, I just went over some of the basic pros and cons of these drones, but if you want a full in-depth review on the Air 3, that'll be linked above as well as down below in the video description, as well as if you're looking at comparing this one to the Air 2S, I have a full video on that. That'll also be down there. As always, if you guys got some value from this video, a big like would be much appreciated. This is Ultra Nastasio with FlytPath.com. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.